So I've now done all the pinning. My quilt top is pinned to my cloth leader, and I've got it going so the sharp pointy ends are going to the left and to the right from the centre point. Now I'm going to put the stopper down on this end for the first rail, and I'm going to turn the rail towards me, and as I turn it I'm just checking it looks like it's loading straight. This isn't quite as accurate as it would be if your quilt top were being loaded now. You'd see that it was actually smaller than your quilt back. So I'm smoothing it out as I go. If you've got a quilt with blocks, you're going to use those block bases as an alignment, and if it doesn't look right, manipulate the fabric at this stage, because if it's wrong at this stage, it's not going to be right as you press the quilt, and you're going to get a wonky quilt result. So loading the quilt is really, really important, particularly the quilt top. Once I've got to this point, and I've got this much fabric, I'm just going to pop that down there. And I'm now going to get my quilt wadding, which is going to be bigger than the quilt top by at least 4 inches on the width and the height. And I'm now going to lay this wadding, pop the stopper onto the quilt backing, and I'm going to lay this wadding on top of my backing fabric. And I'm going to push the excess between the 2 rails. So square it up. Like that. Now, in order to attach the quilt top to our frame, we want to have a nice straight line, a plumb line, something that we can align that straight edge of the quilt top to, and it's going to be a question of doing that straight line. And on this particular machine, we've got electromagnetic channel locks, otherwise you'd use the manual channel locks. So I'm going to move the machine over to where I want to do that plumb line. You don't want to do it too close to the pins, you definitely don't want to hit the pins on this. And holding the thread, the top thread in my left hand, I'm going to use my handlebars. So I'm going to do needle down and needle up.
Liz, can you switch the needle laser off?
Yeah.
Don't think it's helping.
Okay. Move the machine away and then come back. Then I'm going to do 2 or 3 locking stitches, or I can use the tie-off stitch activated either from the on-screen button here. Press that and just gently move the frame and it'll do the tie-off stitches. The alternative is to use the star key if that's how it's programmed on your Amara. You can program it differently. We now want to do a basting stitch. So we're in regulated mode, precision, but I'm going to keep moving the minus key until I get to a 1/2 inch basting stitch. I'm now going to put the electromagnetic channel locks on, and that's a switch here. So I think it's that one.
That's the other one. Oh, sorry. That's right.
And the electromagnetic channel locks will now stop the machine from moving front to back. The stop start button is the far right button. You press it and then let go of it. Once you've pressed it, the machine, once you start moving it in precision, will start sewing. To stop the machine, you press the button again. Do not continuously hold the button. So holding the edge of your fabric just to stop it from moving, I'm going to press that start button. And you'll see for every 1/2 inch, just going to trim that thread with my handy curved scissors on the zinger that you should have in your tools that we've left you. There we go, press stop, the machine stops. I can move that machine slightly further to the right. I'm going to pull some thread off the cone to enable me to do that, and then I can trim those threads level with the edge of the quilt. So that is now our plumb line. I'll remove the electromagnetic channel lock, take the machine back over to the right hand side,
Or even the left-hand side.
to the left hand side. It helps if you know the difference between your right and your left. I now need to get my quilt top up to the same level as the plumb line. So, lift that up. So loosen the stopper off and align that quilt top so that it's level with that. Of course, it depends on how straight your quilt top is. It depends on how straight we've cut our fabric. Then put in some vertical pins just to hold this in place. So put them in like so, all the way across your quilt. It shouldn't be drum tight. When we put quilt on a frame, it's not like an embroidery frame. You should be able to easily see your knuckles if you push up from the underside. And the reason for that being is that in order for a stitch to form on this sewing machine, on this long arm machine, it shouldn't be drum tight, otherwise it can skip the stitches. We go more into that on the foundation. Now I want to do a little wiggly line. I'm going to put the stopper on that quilt top rail. So starting again, let's just run through that again. Holding the quilt top thread in my left hand, I'm going to use the left hand handlebar with my right hand to do needle down and needle up. That then enables me to pick up the bobbin thread. There is my bobbin thread. Move it back to the original hole, press the star key, it does 5 stitches. I'm in regulated mode, it's in precision. I'm now going to increase it to 7 stitches per inch. Still fairly long, but not a basting stitch. And the stitch is going to be a wiggly line within the area that will actually be, when I finish my quilt, will be the binding of the quilt. So these stitches will be hidden. So let's just go along, holding the quilt, the edge of it. And note that I've actually gone off the quilt edge here. The reason being, if there's any fullness, it can be pushed out through into that area. It doesn't end up with a fold on the edge of your quilt. Pull some extra thread off the cone, move the machine away, and again you can just trim your threads level. Remove the pins that you put in to hold that in place. We now need, and we will do this as we progress down the quilt, we will always put in a line at the side as well. And this can be a straight line. So if I just do needle down, needle up, in the same method I did before, bring up the bobbin thread, do a tile stitch. This time I'm going to use the channel lock, but I'm going to do the vertical channel lock, and I'm just going to pull the machine towards me. I would remove these stitches when I finish. You see how it went a bit wonky? That's because I moved it slightly. But as long as those are long enough, it doesn't really matter. It'll be on the edge of your quilt, again within the binding area. So now we've got our quilt fixed. I'm just going to tension it. I'm going to put the side tensions on. These side tensions, you attach them to the backing of the quilt, and you don't want them to do this. You don't want them to pull on the quilt top so that it distorts it, otherwise you'll end up with a wavy quilt edge. So just on the backing, and just tight enough that it holds it. And it goes into a little cleat at the edge of the frame. And we do that on both the left and the right hand sides. Oh, by the way, while you look at this area here, this is a nice IKEA little thread holder. They're pretty useful because you can put all your thread ends in there and they don't wind up on the floor. We found those in IKEA a while ago and they just looked ideal for that. So every time you move on then, the process will be to unclamp the side clamps. You'll take off the stoppers from the front two rails. You'll wind your hand wheel. When you're happy and you've moved forward sufficiently, you will then put the two stoppers back on, tension up your quilt, sort out any wadding, make sure it's not caught up. You can, if you wish, if the wadding is caught up, you can actually put this rail, and do the same on this left hand side as well. We can actually put this rail up onto here, and we can sort out our wadding and make sure that that isn't rucked up in any way or causing a problem. Come back to this one and put that in the V-bearing, tension it up. That's it. I'm ready to start quilting.